Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to another episode of the unThreaded show. I was about to say NBA Thread show. Welcome to another episode of the unThreaded show. My name is Jhamar Youngblood. I'm here with Ty Grant, a.k.a. Leigh, and Jesse.
Look just like him.
Let's get him some context. I call Leigh Ty Grant because it still says Ty Grant on the Riverside account that we use.
Bone changes it for us.
Yeah, it's an inside joke, people. But what's up, friends? How's this week going?
What's up?
What's up?
It's going well. It's getting to 32 degrees here tonight, which is not fun because I had to spend the last couple hours bringing in all the plants from outside so they don't die.
I think this is the first episode where we're all wearing like a hoodie or a sweater or a pullover or whatever. So yeah, I guess it's just the reflection of the weather across the country.
Yeah, Jesse, how's your week been going, bro?
Man, it's been a great week. Jhamar, we got to check in at WNBA Finals Game 1. That was such an incredible game. And yeah, man, that was a fun night in general. Just that was like a dude's night out at the WNBA Finals, which was just an awesome time.
Holy shit!
And yeah, the greatest game. I hope the Lynx pull it out. It should be a really great series, and it's tied 1-1 as we're recording this, but obviously I'm pulling for the Lynx. So,
question for both of you on that was where do you rank? Because that was an insane game to watch, and so you were there. Where do you rank that in like games that you've been to? Because that was a pretty crazy game.
It's probably the top, honestly, because I've been to some great games, but nothing that felt kind of historical like that.
Yeah.
With like all the factors that go into something like that, where like context matters. So I think I've been to like one Vikings playoff game, been to a few Twins like playoff games, and saw some wins in my lifetime, but nothing that felt like, oh, this is historic and this is like the finals. This is the last thing. So just the fact that it was the finals, the fact that it was like a team that like I had any sort of connection to, and the fact that it was like, well, really two teams that I had connection to and had been following like, a little bit more attention that I was paying to it this year was just like all those factors. And then you get the comeback, you get the like absolute wild theatrics in the final minute there, overtime, everything. It was just,
It was a lot.
It was a lot.
And every 0.4 seconds.
Yeah, the theater of it all was magnificent. So yeah, I'd say it ranks at the top for me.
Awesome.
It definitely was number one, Leigh, because the game was cool, but at the Barclays Center, specifically the Liberty games, you're just dancing. They're just playing.
I know it looks so fun there when I watch it.
They're playing up-tempo, high-tempo music during a timeout, so everyone is just standing up, dancing the entire game. That was pretty fun. So it's like there were times when I didn't even want the game to start back up because the dancing was so fun. Like I'm like,
breaks are so fun.
Yeah, like once the fans started getting serious, like ooh, like they started. I'm like, yo, let's go back to the fun dancing part of it. Like y'all getting too serious, like. But it definitely was the best game I ever attended in person ever.
That's awesome.
And I think it was like, obviously Barclays took a gut punch and was like, bummed about the ending. But like, I still felt like even as we were all filing out, that like the energy still felt pretty high. Like everybody seemed to kind of acknowledge like, hey, this was just like one of those games that like I'm super happy I was at no matter how this series turns out. So it's
when you witness greatness, like there was greatness on both sides. The game one, the finals, the like glow up of the MWBA, the NBA, not the MNW, it just, I think it's just a moment really. And I
don't think so.
You didn't share that sentiment as a Liberty fan.
I think the fan base is different because there are a lot of gay people at the Liberty games, and the vibes just was like, it's not no drunken men that's like, well, I think if that was
a lot less masculine energy.
Exactly.
It's more like fun party time energy.
Exactly. So let's just be real about the people, like the fans of the Liberty. It's a lot of gay people in there, and they're there with their partners or their families or whatever, and the vibe is just like The vibe is immaculate.
Just feels different.
Much more pleasant.
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's cool.
All right. Yeah. I love going to Liberty games. It's so fun. But we got a show to do. The first thread is my thread, right? And then we go to Jesse, and then we go to Leigh.
Yep.
So my thread is from my brother, my white brother, Jesse. He went on a rampage, man. And I don't know if I'm supposed to read all of this or what, or Bone, how you want to do it, but I just want to kick this right over to Jesse because you are the man of the hour right now.
Oh, bro.
Explain. Well, I want to know, where did that come from? Because I've seen you post lengthy type of threads like this, but this seemed like one of the longest ones, or more than one, or one of the, more intense ones. So
yeah, this is a 14.
Explain that to us, bro.
14-parter.
14-parter.
This is overtime. Maybe I was inspired by the overtime game. I don't think I'd ever done a 14-parter one. So
what was the Republican one? That was maybe 10.
This is a long one. Yeah, I feel like that was maybe 11 or 12. It was up there, but this one I think was the new longest one I had done.
Bro, I was tempted to copy everyone and put them all together in one Medium style article, but I'm like,
we don't got the showtime for that.
I got some more important things I should be doing.
I'm sure we'll crack into most of the substance of what I covered anyway. And I was flattered that you even thought to choose this one, Jhamar. So thank you for that. Well, maybe we just read the first one and then we'll go from there so everybody knows what we're talking about.
Okay, let me read this, Jesse. Since it's my thread, the one I chose, it is my thread, Let me get to it. Okay, so okay, here it is. I'm going to try to speak in Jesse voice. I find it ironic when folks lash out at people making wholly warranted critiques of a social media platform. Recently, I saw someone labeling those of us who have been loud with feedback as egocentric haters. Interestingly, they patted themselves on the back for supporting those who actually take risks and build things. The irony to me is that the thing, in quotes, these tech companies built is, of course, something that's fueled by the content we users provided for, or that we users provided for free. Jesse, take it over, brother. And sorry for that voice, bro. I was trying.
No. I got some elements of your Obama, so I felt I felt doubly flattered here. But yeah, I was feeling some type of way. I think because we'd obviously had some discussion in last week's show, and we've been all pretty vocal about putting a little bit of pressure on Mosery and kind of setting the expectation for the platform. And I think we had some really good conversations around how do we use NBA threads and the recognition that goes along with that community as being one of the more engaged communities on the platform to kind of make sure that we're speaking up if we see injustices, people getting banned or whatever. And I guess this is just kind of the life cycle of how things come about online. But I'd noticed that as we were speaking up, and a lot of people in the NBA Threads community had kind of posted on the behalf of people who had been zucked unfairly and had kind of raised the issue of the AI moderation and had threatened to move to Blue Sky and all that stuff, I saw some backlash comments. And I just those didn't sit right with me because it was very bootlick energy, people being oh yeah, y'all are think you're so self-important and blah, 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 blah. And why are you complaining? And they're hearing you out. And really this all came to a head because Mosery did issue that kind of statement where he was finally acknowledging after a week, maybe a week and a half. How long?
Longer he'd been.
It had been a long time, and we'd all been on his ass about it. And finally he issues this statement. And it was I think we were all pretty clear, one of the biggest problems we were having was just a lack of transparency. When nobody was asking for an overnight fix, everybody was just hey, you have historically spoken up about certain things. You've been like, you presented yourself as this outlet for people to go to. Now you're radio silent, or the only thing you're talking about is like new features. And so we are like pressing you. And I really didn't like that folks were like carrying his water for him and getting on our case. I know it wasn't necessarily personally directed at me, but just at anybody who would like deign to question that the user experience on Threads hadn't been as good as it was before, and that we had some questions and we wanted some clarification about it. So I really didn't like that bootlick energy, obviously to the degree that it made me write a 14-part thread about it. But I think the long and the short of it is like, that's always struck me as a really weird thing about tech in general. You see this with like Elon sycophants. You see this with like any sort of cult of personality sycophants within the tech space, or really maybe it's just the new like cult of personality people. Because I think you can point certainly to a lot of like Trumpism too, is this like idea that people just want to tell you to shut up if you have any sort of critical thing to say about these people. And I just find that very unhealthy. I really do. I don't understand it at all, because to me, the biggest indicator that you do care about a place is that you can critique it, and that you care enough about it that you're looking for it to get better. So I completely don't understand the mentality of people who are like, why don't you just shut up? Or why do you like, we're not complaining all the time. Like if you look at like my timeline, other people who complain, it's not all complaints. And I think you have to have the like capability of being able to notice that there's nuance there. I really hate the like flattening of nuance in really, I guess, any take cycle of anything, but particularly when it comes to speaking up about things that feel unfair.
Leigh, before I counter Jesse, you have something interesting to say?
Interesting, I don't know. I mean, in general, yes, I agree. Like, people who, it's like you give these heads of these companies, and like, you know, it's like even Amazon, Walmart, you know what I mean? Like they give you this little tiny bit and people want you to feel thankful for it. And it's like, what we're asking for is really simple, and we're really direct about it. And it's not even simple. It makes sense. Like what they're doing is harmful to the people that are creating content and like these high usage creators. So it's always confusing to me when you get a little, they give you a little bit thinking it's going to work, and that some people expect that to appease everyone. And it's fine if that is enough for them, but I don't think it's their place, or I don't think it's anyone's place to tell someone else that should be enough for you as well. So,
Jesse, was your critique or was your rant more about Threads and team, or more about the bootlickers?
I think that this particular thread was more about the bootlickers. Like, I think I'd already kind of like spoken my piece on this show and elsewhere about what I think Threads wasn't doing well, or Mosery wasn't doing well, which was like, again, to me, fumbling on the PR comm side. So I felt like I'd covered that pretty well. This was more reserving like some questioning of the bootlickers. Because again, that's where I'm just like, you lost me with that shit, man. Why are you carrying a multi-billion-dollar corporation's like water for them?
Listen,
I don't get it.
Listen, bro. We respectfully, Water, with all due respect, we was turning up on this guy, bro.
No,
he was
sure.
He was like we called him. You called him Scar.
I said he was a fan of Scar, which I maintained. I do think he rooted for Scar.
Other people was like, I posted something about how he used Threads with like Michael Jordan's son doing drugs. That almost got like a 500,000 views. So it's like,
oh yeah,
his supporters, bro. His supporters see these things, man, and they just like, who the hell is Jesse? Who the hell is Jhamar?
I get it.
They're gonna attack our guy.
But that's
he doesn't care.
Yeah, he's shown that he doesn't care, and I don't think he needs to care. Like I don't have any sort of like, I don't think that I'm on his level, and that's the other thing that I resent about these bootlickers is them being like, you're acting like you're smarter than everybody at Meta, and I'm like, no. But like, you can't just say anytime I have a critique that's what I'm acting like, because I think that like honestly, and I said this in the thread, I've seen so many people go out of their way when they're presenting a thoughtful critique to say, now, I don't know all the intricacies of making this fix. I don't know how to code. I don't know how to do back-end engineering that like would facilitate any of what we're talking about. But nonetheless, we see the end results of the decisions that were made. And we as the end users, especially as the people who supply content for this place, do get a say in that. And so really what like it comes down to me, like for me is like, because I had a couple people talk to me both like from that thread and in other conversations where they were like, yeah, well, it's like you're the customer or whatever. And it's like, okay, but you can't treat this like a coffee that I don't like. So I just stop going to that like purveyor of coffee. Or you can't treat this like a single use product, because this is not a single use product. This is something that is making its value based on its users. It asks its users to come up with creativity, to come up with things that keep the platform interesting to go to. And they are not compensated for that. So there is a piece of this that is different than just me being an unsatisfied customer with a single purchase. If I don't like a coffee place's coffee, I don't drink coffee, so it doesn't matter. If I don't like a single product from, say, Fanatics, I don't like Fanatics like cheap garbage merchandise, I don't have to buy jerseys from them. I can go to DHgate and get wholesale jerseys from China that are better quality for a cheaper price. That is an accurate statement. The problem that you can't compare it apples to apples, because Threads is a place where your creativity is on display and people use it to make a living. I know I do. That's my reality. I'm a freelance creative director. My Instagram presence, my Threads presence, any of these platforms are like something that like has an effect in how I get my name out there. So people can counter and say, well, yeah, but you're using them for distribution. Sure. But they're also, by the same token, able to use my content and any of our content to attract new users and to keep people on the platform, because we are the thing that keeps it flavorful and interesting. And if everybody all together in mass stopped posting, they wouldn't have a product. So I just think it's not the same thing as like, oh, I don't like this coffee, I'm not going to go to that place. It's different, because if you are somebody who's like part of that social contract of, we post these things, or we share our art, or we share our videos, or whatever you do to post on Threads, you are part of the equation of making it successful. And that has always been Meta and Facebook's model. All of their products, aside from like, I guess the like hardware glasses or whatever, rely on user-generated content. And even those are designed so that people can generate more user-generated content. So
the fanboys,
it's not the same thing. They can't just say your voice doesn't matter, because yes, it does. If nobody had a voice, the platform wouldn't exist. And so I don't like that false binary, man. I really don't. And people can't lose that like ability to be critical of a place like that. Because if you even watch like the Social Network movie, and I'm sure that took creative liberties, but like we have to remember that like the entirety of the valuation of anything that Meta has ever made comes from the users. That started off as a hot or not page for other people's fucking faces. It never was like Zuck's genius coffee, okay? It has always been reliant on other people's ideas, other people's faces, other people's pictures, other people's intellectual fucking property. So when people say you can't have a say in that, I take umbrage with it. That's just the way I feel.
All right, that was good, Jesse. It sounds like you.
Thank you for coming to my thread talk.
Yeah, very good, Leigh. I like that.
That was good. It sounds like you need to be the leader and create a union, bro.
Hey, I got love for the Threads union, and I don't. That's the other thing. I'm not positioning myself as the foremost authority. So again, when people start saying it's an egocentric thing, I don't think of it that way. I'm not saying I could run this place better than Mosseri. I mean, probably could, but I think most people could, because I don't think he's doing a good job. I don't think he's putting enough of his effort and his attention here. So I take objection to like the way that he treats it as such a lackluster thing when I am surrounded by so many people that have so much passion for this place. I don't see it reciprocated from him. So It's
Yo,
not
Zuck.
that I think I know better or that I understand things any better than that. I'm not positioning myself as like any sort of challenge to him as a leader. I'm just saying, yo, I got a problem with this, and I'm not the only one. You guys need to like address this shit.
Yo, hey, Bone Cody, he just said, I got something to say to Zuck. Zuck, the NBA just saved a bunch of money by firing Woj and hiring Shams, if that's his name, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing by firing Mozzie, whatever his name is, and hiring my boy Jay Hagan, man.
I'll do it. I'll do it probably for half of Moseri's salary. And
Yeah.
I don't mean to undersell myself. I want you to take the other half of his salary and I want you to create an actual monetization program that rewards anybody, not just the select few of Moseri's little Instagram buddies from the other platform that he's in charge of.
Yeah, that's all based on how many followers you have on Instagram.
It makes no sense. It's
It
not
doesn't.
anything like there's nothing that links the two together other than Moseri and Meta. Like it's a completely different experience. So I don't think it's like been working. Obviously, I'm not the only one who feels that way, but all the dudes, I've only seen dudes doing this who are like posting and being like, "Oh, how dare you question him? Why don't you just leave?" Y'all are not helping matters, okay? Like if the rest of us left, you would get another Twitter. Like the best and the brightest left from Twitter, and now go check that shit out. You see what happens when like Flavor leaves the place? It's not me being arrogant. That's the reality of the situation. You want to be surrounded by fanboys? Go fucking watch Elon Musk's animatronics dance and pretend like that's a new fucking thing. You can lie to yourself if you want. It's not. It's not new. And you get rid of anybody that has any sort of creativity or imagination, you will have the same diminished returns. And you can pretend like some remote control robots are the newest fucking breakthrough, but you will eventually get tired of that shit too. Guarantee it.
Bro, you giving me Jimmy Hoffa vibes. You know Jimmy Hoffa?
Oh yeah, and I'm probably gonna get disappeared.
Yeah.
I don't lie.
I'm gonna say this because I'm not trying to be contrarian just to be contrarian, Jesse, right? But what I do want to say is that we've been attacking that man, and I think his supporters seen it, and I think what happens is people believe that they could become the next Mozzie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they feel like I could be the CEO of one of Meta's products one day. So they support that guy the same way someone would support LeBron James, or they would support Steph Curry, or they would support a wrestler. So, and they see you with your little silly little profile pic, your little NBA threads, little community, they not a part of that. Hey, like, who the hell does this man think he is? Let me try to put this man in his place and let him know that King Moss is our guy. And we had enough bashing.
Sure. And listen, if it was just this in response to those, like when we say like he roots for Lord Farquaad, he roots for Scar, and like, you know, he operates as if he's doing Michael Jordan Jr. cocaine or whatever it is, you know, I get that. I get that response. What bothers me is, again, that I feel the like kind of like vehemence come from them. And there have been a lot more thoughtful responses than that. And a lot of us have taken the time to, again, say, we don't understand the back-end engineering. But come on, you can't with a straight face look at us and tell us that there isn't AI moderation problems when we see so many different communities posting about it. When we see a new person that we know and love get zucked every other day. You can't just sit there and pretend like it's not happening. Like, you can't just be like, I don't know, the Wizard of Oz, little flying monkeys. Like, it's not like that much of a binary. You know what I'm saying? So I think to me, it's the good faith. Like, yes, we did take some like low blows at their guy or whatever. And that's fine if you want to like exchange some low blows around that. Where is the reciprocation of the thoughtfulness? Because again, I've seen so many posts that went out of their way to acknowledge what we don't know, but to also say, come on, we need to talk about this. We want this platform to be great. That's, again, to me, the intent behind it is we want this place to be great. We want the same thing. We want the same goals. So why can't you guys meet us halfway? Why does there have to be this like last layer of defense of reply guys who all just like can't wait to lick the last bit of dirt off of Mosseri's boot? I got no admiration for bootlick energy. I just don't.
Respect. And again, I'm just throwing something at you for you to think about, my brother.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Let's go to the second thread. Jesse, what do you have?
Okay.
And actually, Jesse, let me stop this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm getting into politics, so I need to learn how to will and deal. I made a deal with Jesse. I said, Jesse, you know what? I'm going to choose your thread this week. But do you mind if you choose this specific thread for my boy New Goat? And like a lovely brother, my boy Jesse said, I oblige, and let's do it.
Okay, no doubt. So yes, this comes from the esteemed New Goat. Love this dude. And he says, a theatrical depiction of black men demanding the same respect that others are shown when it comes to political discourse. Bullying tactics will not work. Address our legitimate concerns with respect and integrity, not tomfoolery.
Jesse, I appreciate you choosing this as your thread of the week, my brother.
You got it, man. You got it.
But from your perspective, because we kind of talked about this and we spoke briefly about Obama's speech.
Yeah.
What's your initial reaction? And then Leigh, what's your initial reaction to my boy New Goat's perspective?
I think I need more context on this because I think you guys talked about it. And I'm not sure what it's.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yes.
My hunch, and I don't want to speak for New Goat here, but it seems like at least the timing wise is a response to that Obama speech and some of the discourse I saw coming out of that, where there was this kind of like pushback against what I do think was kind of a reductive argument on Obama's part. At least this is my perception, and I say this as a white man and all the caveats that go along with that. I can't understand possibly the nuance of what New Goat feels or any black person feels seeing a speech like that. But from my understanding of things, Obama's speech felt targeted at black men in particular as a voting bloc, as a voting demographic, and saying, y'all are the ones falling short here, and Kamala's numbers aren't matching the support she had from black men as a voting bloc that Biden had in 2020 and even Hillary had in 2016, and obviously like Obama before both of them. So I think that kind of, I hope I'm interpreting that right, that is the intent behind this post. And it's interesting to me coming after the thread that I talked about, because in both instances, I do feel like the issue at hand, I mean, New Goat says this himself, deserve the same respect in others that are shown when it comes to political discourse. The issue is, again, a lack of nuance. And I'm not drawing a parallel between the two, because I know, again, there are dynamics that I can't understand, but it does feel like something reductivist happened within Obama's speech that wasn't fair to the reality of the situation. That's my perspective on it, at least.
Yeah, and then you could add into that he tried to make it about how men didn't want a woman president, and right? And more context, he was talking in a smaller room to black people, essentially, and there was some black men in there as well. And his perspective, well, for me, it felt like he was trying to scapegoat black men. Like, if Kamala loses, it's going to be like, oh, it's black men's fault because, look, Obama said it. And I looked at some data because Obama said, oh, I feel like a lot of men out there don't want a woman to be president, when 80% of black men voted for Hillary Clinton and like 30% of white men voted for Hillary Clinton. So it's like
proportionally,
exactly.
It's not the right enemy.
Exactly. So it's like, bro, you are out of your mind trying to put this narrative on us, especially someone like me, who, as soon as Kamala said she was running, I made a video about why I'm supporting her. And I came out. We
spoke about it on this show too. Like
exactly. I came out early and said that. What if Obama was that early? And to be honest, he said a lot of stuff I was saying in that video.
Yeah.
So now it's 2 weeks left and they scrambling, and now you want to go to black men. I knew that was going to be an issue from the jump. That's why I made the video. But Obama and Kamala, they didn't know that, but I knew that. Come on now.
Where was this? I completely missed this speech. Where was it? Was it like where was it at?
Yeah, it was, so it really wasn't a speech. The video I seen,
That's probably why I
Obama
missed
was
it.
in a small room, like or like a smaller size room. Had to be about 50 people there or so. And there were black men in there. There were black women in there as well.
Was
And
it just like him talk? Was it for that? Like that? Were they there to see him talk about her? Like
no, like, it was really casual. It was really casual. It was
just
sort
like
of
a
like
meet and greet with Obama or something.
So it looked like an impromptu speech.
Okay.
And it looked like he wasn't prepared to speak, but he started talking and people were standing up next to him. People were sitting down. So it wasn't formal at all.
Yeah.
Just to give y'all some context, Leigh, I'm looking at a Yahoo News report about this speech. So it said former President Barack Obama delivered a stern speech last week, October 10th, during a campaign event for Kamala Harris, and it was in Pittsburgh. And so the full quote that I think we're kind of speaking to is he says, "We have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that." He goes on to have a few more other quotes, but that seems to be the heart of kind of what inspired New Goat's response that we're talking about here.
Makes sense.
And what New Goat is respectively trying to say is that this should be about policies for us. Like black men should be voting on policies, and they shouldn't be like forced to vote because what? And then he said Trump has done all this messed up stuff to us, and it's just like, bro, I don't want to get into that. Like what Joe Biden has been accused of, what Kamala has been accused of, but from a lot of black people's perspective, it's just like it's the same thing. And then if they're going to go on policies, they rather say, okay, let me vote Trump because at least he's going to make it easier for everyone. And then I'm essentially would be a part of that everyone. Right? But y'all want us to vote when there's no policies. And I'm voting for women. I'm voting for other people who are marginalized, but other black men may just want to vote for their own interests, just like everyone else does. But when they want us to vote, it's like, oh, go vote for the woman, vote for this or vote for that, and don't vote for yourself. So that's what I feel like New Goat was hitting at. It's just that, like, come on, bro.
I mean, I agree with that based off what you've told me and that I'm reading the post. And I think that's true about everybody. Like, and that's what the point he's trying to make is that, address our concerns. Like, don't just talk at us. Tell us things, like, actually talk about things that directly affect us and how certain policies, in theory, will make those better. Like, that's another conversation about actually, going through with those policies. But yeah, it's just it's almost a little bit of a disrespect to not necessarily intelligence, but self awareness. Even, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's talk to us like we're adults. You know,
especially after everything we had to do to vote. It's like, bro, it's like that, like we fought for that. And then for you to just assume that we just supposed to vote away that's not in our best interest, even though it is I feel like it's noble to say, okay, you know what? They want to create legislation to attack women. Let's use our vote to combat that. That is like a noble thing to do. But if not everyone wants to do that, you can't attack them for that.
I do think that like this hits upon something that like it strikes a nerve for a lot of people with Democrats, myself included. And that is the presumptuousness that like, just because y'all are not the most overtly evil party, that you should automatically have our vote. Because I think like I've seen this come up a lot too. I saw some great threads from, I think like Feminista Jones got like in some, like someone tried to drag her and She Writes to Live and Olive Winter Writes as well had a white woman author who were trying to like say like, well, I should be allowed to write like about the trauma for my Black woman characters that I'm writing about. And they were like, no, you don't have the right because you don't have the lived experience to write a character like that. So they were saying like against that, like you don't have the right. Cause this apparently this white woman author had originally been like, hey, help me like make my like,
I saw this
character that I'm writing, more realistic, I guess. I don't want to misrepresent what was said, but they very fairly pushed back and been like, well, if you have like a kind of like, if you're white, you don't understand. You can't understand the trauma.
I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
1 second. I'll be right. I'm so sorry, guys.
I gotta pee. Well, this is like probably for the best though, Leigh, because I think this is like maybe this is like poetic timing though, because I do think like the whole point of like what I'm noticing in that discourse is that like what I'm reading is like, especially as it relates to politics and as it relates to like Kamala and the finger pointing that it seems like Obama's doing, is the response justifiably is y'all talk to your cousins and your uncles and your aunts, white people, meaning white people. Y'all talk to your people that you know in your lives that are voting for Trump. And that's a totally fair pushback because it's like, it feels sanctimonious and presumptuous and rude when you see white folks come at Black folks and say like, the expectation is like, you guys are detrital. You bring up Gaza, you bring up all these things. Like, how dare you get in the way of voting for this candidate who is Black? Like, how could you do that? Like, it's not fair because that's not the problem. And that's the whole point is like, it is not on Black folks to save us again and again and again. It is on us to talk to our relatives who are voting Trump that we know in our lives. And I'm sure everybody who's white probably knows somebody in your extended family who is voting for him. And it's on us to have those conversations because you look at the numbers and it isn't, even if it's going from 90 to 75%, the majority is still voting for Kamala. And it's not the same thing with white men and white women. So as much as we want to pretend like we're progressive, pat ourselves on the back, it really is on us to have those dialogues and try to talk to the people in our lives that we know who are voting for Trump, despite everything, despite all the evidence, like pointing to the contrary. It's on us to have those conversations. It's not on us to try to pin the blame. Like
that's
if he gets
that's what Obama should have said, bro. That's what Obama should have said, bro.
I think the tough thing and the reason why I do feel, and again, I know it's not a perfect parallel, so please don't take this as like, drawing a false equivalency. But the reason why I think it has like some sort of linkage to the first thread is, again, this idea of nuance and reduction happening in scale. That's the same thing I see between like politics and tech and marketing and business, is that like it ends up feeling so cynical to people because nuance has to get removed. And that eventually, if you get so comfortable treating people like data points, you suck all the nuance away and you try to like play this numbers game and people can feel when it's no longer authentic. And I've like seen my friend, one of my like best friends in the whole world, she's Lebanese and she's been like speaking up about the bombings in Lebanon and like the outrageous genocidal like bloodlust that is coming from Israel. And like, she is disgusted justifiably. And I'm disgusted too, seeing like these politicians give non-answers where they're like, yeah, it's really a shame what happened. And we need a ceasefire. And then the very next day you see that they've like given them another $1 billion in aid package for like arms defense. And so it just like ends up feeling like you're playing a numbers game with us. And that really is not, it's hard to respect and it is hard to generate any enthusiasm. And Obama as a whole should know that better than anybody, because I think he was up against some very real, very impossible standards as the first Black president, but nonetheless is also responsible for like a lot of this political doublespeak, a lot of these like playing games, a lot of pretending that like the heinousness that we see that's out in the open, that's brazen, isn't real. And it is. We all fucking see it.
Yeah, Jesse. Bro, listen, man. You carrying us again this week, my brother. All these takes, God, Leigh, yeah, but Leigh, you have something to say?
I don't think I have anything to add to that. That pretty much covered it. I agree. I think the only, and I'm not trying to defend anything that he did, but I think probably the main difference would be, I would assume, and I don't know this, is that he's speaking to people who are probably deciding between whether to vote or not. I think a lot of those people, he's not trying to get people to not vote for Kamala instead of Trump, which is a different thing.
Well, Leigh, if you watch it, I'm gonna send it to you after. If you watch it, he mentions Trump. He said, and I'm paraphrasing. He said something like, people think about voting for the other guy after everything he's done to black men historically. Like, he tried to basically play the fear strategy.
Yeah, well, they all are doing that, and it's an easy thing to play.
In 2020, I feel like in 2020 it was easy, and that's why they won. But they think that they could just do that again, and people are just going to fall for it again.
I agree, and I think this is the one thing that I understand from when I am around Trump voters or talk to Trump voters or read anything about it. I understand hating the sanctimony. The sanctimony fucking sucks. And it's the same kind of shit.
Jesse, explain sanctimony. I'm sorry.
Sanctimony, being sanctimonious is when you're talking down to someone, I know better and you need to just trust me because I have your best interests in mind.
High and mighty.
And why would you do this? And how could you possibly think this? I think that the reason Trump is so appealing to his base of voters is that they've been made to feel so stupid for so long. I'm not saying that they don't buy into some really fucking stupid shit. Obviously, I believe that. But nonetheless, I think most of this isn't that they don't see it or understand it. It's that it's a troll job. I think most of what he's tapped into is this trolling energy of, you keep telling me what's best for you. See how far that gets you. And these people are fed up of being talked down to and patronized to. And so what they find appealing about a figure like him is that he's a middle finger. He's a middle finger to sanctimony. And so they find that they have accumulated so many grievances in their lives, especially from people who have told them, be patient. We're going to fix things for you. Everything's going to be better. Now, they view it as an act of retribution. So it doesn't matter how many heinous things he does to them, because in their eyes, they just want to get even with the people who have talked down to them and made them feel less than, made them feel stupid.
It makes them feel like they're on his level. They become that, and they're in charge, and they have the power. I think it does. It gives them authority.
Right. They view it as political retribution, I think. It's the idea that they can burn it all down via him as their proxy. And in some ways, the more disgusting he is, the better for some of these folks. I'm not saying this is representative of all of Trump's voting base. I think you have probably Jesse, a lot of moderates who are...
You're on point, man. You're on point.
I think that there are a lot of moderates out there who are kind of holding their nose and are genuinely hopeful or think very misguidedly that he's a good businessman or whatever. I think that there are people out there who are probably voting for him for that reason. There are probably people out there who are earnestly voting for him because of some misguided interpretation of religion. But there are people out there, a large amount of his base, I think, that are fueled by the idea of people have tread on me, people have talked down to me, people have lied to me, and I'm going to get even with them. And I think that is why it has become so much the party of grievance. And so I'm saying, as somebody who's going to vote for Kamala, I'm saying that when I'm told, oh, we need to have a ceasefire, but you ship out $1 billion worth of bombs, I don't fucking like that. I don't like the sanctimony. I don't like the presumptuousness one fucking bit. And now, obviously, I am not as much of a political nihilist that I'm going to give my vote to Trump. That's fucking absurd. I think that man deserves to fucking rot forever for all the things that he's done. But I am saying that I understand that, especially in moments like that, and especially like what this thread is getting into, Jhamar, which is that like this kind of sanctimony, this kind of piousness, this kind of like pinning the blame, this ain't it. And like, this is exactly why I think people got so fed up with Joe Biden and looked to Kamala as a potential evolution. And all the things we talked about, I think still hold true. There is, I believe, representative symbolic value of a woman winning the presidency, particularly a black woman. I do believe that that is true. But I also believe that we need to start that pushback. We can vote for her, but immediately thereafter, we cannot just be pacified by the status quo anymore. We have to be open and honest with ourselves and say, the same way that I'm talking about the bootlicks coming and defending Mosseri, I feel the same way about the political pushback. Like, don't just tell me that I'm getting in the way of progress just because I demand and expect more of my country. That is the most patriotic act to me, is to be able to say, no, we deserve better. We deserve real answers. We deserve answers on the military-industrial complex. We deserve answers as to why our tax dollars are just funding unfathomable genocide in a part of the world that we don't live in.
Fidel Castro vibes, bro.
Oh,
Young
damn.
Fidel Castro vibes. I'm saying just a real patriot leading his country, letting them know that we need change in this country. They here trying to take over our country. But hey, man.
I'll tell you what, if I'll have to figure out a way to rig a podcast setup in some bushes overlooking Havana.
Sorry, I know it's continuing on, but the American political system, especially election year, is exhausting. And do you think that fatigue is, or I'm asking you, and I guess I think this, like, that fatigue is such a huge part of that too. It's like when it's finally over, it's like even myself, who and then you kind of lose that, like, everything that you've been thinking about for the last year, because what's the solve?
I think for me, and I don't think first of all, I don't think there are any easy solutions. I think, like, you look around, you see how ugly everything is and how hopeless everything feels. And for me personally, so many days, I'm a white man. I'm literally the most privileged of anyone on this call. A white American man, cisgender, heterosexual, have a family, have done well for myself financially. I am literally the most privileged person on this call. And I feel that kind of despair looking at, like, the day-to-day life. Something is deeply and hopefully not irreparably, but something is broken. Something is fucked up beyond, like, recognition of this feeling like it is a good experiment anymore. And so I don't think there are any easy answers, Leigh, but I do think that we are at the fact that Trump, somebody as despicable and as objectionable as this slimy husk of a man, rapist, criminal, thief, liar, con man, the fact that he can get half of the electorate's vote, whatever their motivation, whether it is the troll energy I talked about, or whether, again, they're willing to look the other way on all those things, or, again, whether they're somehow able to convince themselves that he's a religious figure despite all those things. The fact that he can get half of the vote, to me, tells you everything you need to know about how fucking down bad America is. I think the only thing, in my view, and whatever you want to think my opinion's worth, I don't necessarily think I have any answers, but I think the number one thing to me is finding some way around the two-party system, because I think that this shit is what unnecessarily hamstrings our fucking country from getting anything done. You see this repeatedly. Election after election after election. The Democrats always get to play this card of they want to dismantle democracy. The Republicans always get to play this card of like, they're coming for your rights. And we get locked into this fucking like stagnation where we can't progress anything because the one branch is beholden to the Republicans. The executive branch maybe is beholden to the Democrats, but either or, it's a false fucking binary. It's a false binary. We have allowed ourselves to remove political nuance because we've allowed everything to become about this scale numbers game, and it's no longer real. It's no longer genuine, and everybody knows that it's a lie behind it. It is the fucking Wizard of Oz, and we've allowed it to be fucking taken a hold of by this two-party system where both parties stand to benefit and get extremely rich by keeping the status quo and only having the appearance. It's like my favorite political meme is the it says a dark one, but it's like the one where it's like Republicans and it shows like a plane bombing a country, and then it's like Democrats and it shows the same plane bombing a country, but the plane is wrapped in like a rainbow flag and has like LGBTQ stickers on it, And that really like says so much because a lot of the things that we get like so hung up on, like I'm not saying there isn't real value in making progress in those social areas. There absolutely is. The fact that my brother can get married, that was a significant policy change. That's a huge thing that changes people's lives. Nonetheless, we are still so beholden to a military industrial complex and a police state that spends so much fucking money of our taxes on protecting the status quo, not imagining the future. Look at our education system. Look at like the businesses in this country that get to operate like fucking tax-free overseas. Like we don't have a next generation of great ideas and futures to invest in because so much of our money is tangled up in defense contracts. It's mind-numbing to me that like the only energy where we started to push back against that, the whole defund the police thing, all that shit got fucking like fell apart in like 2 or 3 years. Now you look at police budgets, they're still on an upward trajectory. You look at fucking military industrial budgets, still on an upward trajectory. We have never had a politician, Democrat or Republican, come forward and say, we need to break the fucking cycle of addiction to violence in this country. We need to break the cycle of our obsession with power and aggression in this world. Like it's disturbing to me. The last president, the guy who coined the term military industrial complex is fucking Eisenhower, a Republican, a war general. He saw where it was going. That is crazy that nobody's talked about it since then. Nobody has earnestly been able to talk about weaning ourselves off the addiction of like.
I think that what you said, power.
And you can code that however
like
you
American,
want. Think,
like translates to America, what is to be American.
Yeah. And I saw another great post again, like Feminista Jones. Like, again, I'm not trying to say it's Black women will save us or anything, but they certainly, I think, like point to things that are really instructive for people, especially white males like me. When you talk about dismantling it, it is all part of this intersectional approach to criticism that, luminaries like bell hooks pointed out. It's all part of the patriarchal, capitalistic, I'm going to miss some of these terms and I'm so sorry to bell hooks, but it's all wrapped up in the same power structure and preserving those power structures. And the ones who have to dismantle it are not the marginalized groups. It's the white men. It's the white men who need to speak on these things and need to call them out and recognize them. So, okay, I said we need to break from the two-party system. I believe that. But above and beyond all that, I think it's on dudes like me having hopefully introspective conversations with themselves and hopefully coming to some of the same conclusions that I'm talking about right now. These uncomfortable conversations that are like, this shit ain't working. What is this like adjacency to the power, adjacency to the billionaires? What is this even getting us? Are we happy? Because I don't feel happy.
One thing I do want to add to that, Leigh, is the importance of your local elections and your local politicians. Vote Jhamar Youngblood. New York City Council
Hell yeah.
But also go to your own local elections and vote too, because you are correct. That is where everything starts.
True.
Exactly. That's where everything starts. So, Leigh, you want to introduce the last thread for us?
Yes. Okay. So, was on Threads. I wasn't on Threads too much today, but this morning I woke up to a post from Threads.
The Threads account?
Yeah, the Threads. New on Threads. Big old green circle. We're rolling out a new way to let your Threads community know when you're online. You know what? I've been asking for it since day one. They heard me. When you're active here, people will now see a green dot alongside your profile picture. If you have a private profile, only your followers will see your activity status. And it has like 2 screenshots showing what it looks like. And I saw this and I was immediately like, nope. And then I immediately saw one of the NBA Threads legends, Freak Time, comment. And they said, do you not understand your audience is a bunch of introverts who like community but are still introverts? Which I thought was great. But outside of that, usually I don't get too caught up in new stuff that I don't care about, but this life was different. It has to do with what you're being online, which to start out is confusing because you don't DM on Threads. Like I know you can like go to their Instagram page and DM them, but I'm just trying to think about how that is even relevant that someone would want that. Like someone would want to know someone is active when you're on Threads. So I guess I'm even confused about the need for it unless they're having something else add to it later. And second of all, I don't want anybody to know where the hell I am. And the fact that it's just automated and if you have it, it's suddenly showing up. And to disable it is confusing. You have to go in. Actually, there was a correction that you can go into Instagram to disable it on Instagram, but if you don't have it on your Threads yet, you have to go to the web version and disable it. But they didn't even post about it that you could disable it until 5 hours after they initially posted it. And like people had to like hunt it down. But to me, it should have always been an opt-in, not an opt-out. I don't know. I just think it's really, I feel like it's a little bit overreach. Like just saying, we're going to tell everyone if you're online. I guess at least they told us, but I don't know.
Sounds like incompetence to me. Because what the freak, bro?
Right?
All of that money, all of those product developers, all of those UI designers, what the hell, man?
Well, they're doing what they're being made asked to do, so in their defense. But the people who are the product strategy people, yeah, those people, what the hell?
Leigh, listen, you just said there's no direct message on there, right?
Correct.
Why would I want to know if someone is online?
I have no idea. I genuinely do not know.
It's like
do
if
you
want
automatically
Threads with me?
Do you automatically turn it on?
No, it turns it on for you. You have to turn it off if you don't want it.
I hate.
And did they communicate that, or that's something
They
that we
did
just found
5
out?
hours after the fact?
Hey,
Okay,
what do you think the rationale is? Like, if you really have to sit in a room, I love to imagine these conversations where they're like, "Hey, do you think this is something people really want? If you think that that's the case, do you think you need to program it for it to be automatically on? Because I don't."
No, you know, honestly, you know what that probably is? That's probably like a metric that, like, they're probably doing something sleazy like they always do.
They need more engagement. Somebody else was saying that, like, they need more engagements, which is so sad and so pathetic. And again, to me, is like, well, what, y'all, that's why they're doing this AI companionship. They, in their view, the best thing ever would just be if we're just talking to AI bots all day on Thread, on Meta, on any of these fucking products, so we never leave. The AI companion is so fucking amazing to spend time around. We just are in the fucking Wall-E chair, just pinging messages back and forth. But the funny thing to me, Jhamar, is like when you brought up the waste of fucking money, incompetence. I look at it and I'm like, again, all this shit that you guys are like ladling, oh, this is the future. This is the future. You know what you've invented? You invented Smarter Child and you invented fucking aim away messages. That is all you've done. That's all your billions and billions of dollars have done. We are 30 years away
90s
from like
tech.
my time on AIM. What has changed? Okay. What can I get from ChatGPT that I couldn't get from Smarter Child? Be real. Maybe the rap that ChatGPT can write for me is slightly better than Smarter Child, but I don't think it is. I don't think it's that much. And it's the same thing. They had even AIM had the green, yellow, red lights. It's the same fucking shit. And I'm like, where's the imagination?
You were chatting to people real time. Like, it was logical in that because it's a live chat.
But this is, again, we are so down bad. Our biggest companies, their biggest innovations are things we've seen 30 years ago. What the fuck, man?
For what it's worth, I'll have Bone put up some instructions for those who want to know how to disable it.
But Leigh, do you know how to do it right now?
Yeah, so it's I saw it. Hold on, let me see.
Golden Gate Blonde had the.
Let's do this in real time. Let's do mine.
Settings, and then privacy. Let me know when you're there.
Yep,
this is an Instagram.
Online status.
Online status. Damn, I don't have that.
So you have to go to
in Instagram. You have to be on Instagram.
But it doesn't disable your threads. You have to go to the desktop of Threads to do it for Threads.
What the freak?
So that's the extra freak PSA. Thank you, freak.
All right, well, I could do this later.
You know what? I shouldn't have been making fun of them. You guys have made a better, smarter child and the better away message. I am not smarter than everyone at Meta. No. I don't want to give that impression.
Listen, man. Listen, Jesse. I'm not scared of those trolls, bro. So
obviously, I'm not either. I mean, I'm getting disappeared twice. That's both for my Hoffa vibes and Fidel Castro vibes.
So. Anything else on that thread?
Not really. Just that I was really effing annoyed, and again, I saw no reason for it. It felt like Big Brother type shit, and I just figured it's probably tracking something that we're doing. Like, they added the location, and now they're adding when we're online. It feels weird.
Yeah, honestly, like, I have two things to say that's probably like pretty intense. But the first thing I want to say is that, like, Threads is like the latest social platform, and like, or the latest one to have like a real big name. And we watch what happened to all these other social platforms. We watch the users get taken advantage of, and it's like, if we don't do something now, if we don't keep pushing back and using our voice now, then I feel like this is going to be the norm. So,
but it's like you said, Jhamar, they've all shown this is what's going to happen. Like, Vine was the cautionary tale to me. Vine was the chance. Like, I remember even all the Vine creators had like drafted accords, just like you did for the Threads Union. They had like something that they had approached Vine and was like, we can save this company. Give us a chance. And Vine was like, no. And then fucking died. And so it's like, man.
Well, they sold it to Twitter, I think, right? They sold it to Twitter.
I think they did sell to Twitter, but it got sunset either way. Like, Vine. Yeah.
And the second thing I want to say, and maybe we could talk about this in the future, but this is about to be a little spicy tea. Just all the political talk, just to wrap it up, because I know we're at the end. I'm starting to feel like white people, or I'm starting to feel like how the white people felt back during slavery when they knew slavery was happening, but they were just living their life. And that's sort of like us now, us Americans. We're like, we knew all this messed up stuff that our country is doing, but we're just going about our lives. We're just on Threads, talking about Threads. We're on Amazon, just living our life while our government is out there just like messing stuff up in other countries, man. So I can imagine this is what the white people during slavery felt like when they knew slavery was out there and rampant and just,
Bone
virus, and now it's starting to feel like, I don't know, this episode got me really like, I don't know, it got me questioning a lot of things, man.
I'm glad. I mean, I think these are all questions that need to be asked. But yeah, Bone posted that article that was like, remember when Mosari came out and with that statement we were talking about earlier about like the moderation failures, the first people he threw under the bus was, he was like, oh, this was not our AI tool. That's wonderful. You should get in your Wall-E chair and talk to your AI companion. No, the first people he threw under the bus were human moderators. And Bone had an article that looked into that. The people that are doing human moderation for Meta products, they're not in America.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what countries they are, but I think they're in Africa, and they're, they're not being compensated fairly, and the job sounds absolutely horrific. Yeah. They have to review the worst content ever published on the internet day after day after day for a pittance.
Yep.
It's awful.
Well, and that's just another layer of it too, because that's one of the things you can appeal on. It's like, this isn't offensive in my part of the world. And it's like, even because you're asking people to look for certain words, and if they don't understand how it's used contextually, they're just going to flag it. And like, so that's a terrible use. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, none of it makes sense.
Incompetence, Leigh. Incompetence.
Well, that's just cheap labor. Like
the thing that like the most apt metaphor for America, I think, is America is a casino. America is a casino, and the casino, the people playing like the high leverage games, the billionaires. This is all for their fucking like amusement and entertainment. And at the end of the day, we get a bad hand and we get squeezed out so they can get a couple more dollars. But like, we do not have an interest anymore in not being a casino, in being an idea factory. Like, I think it was probably around the time of the close of the 50s where we were no longer inventors. We were no longer dreamers. We were beholden to the shareholders, and everything was justifiable if the billionaires and the wealthy in this country got a few more dollars, then we could justify anything. We could justify offshoring or whatever, because as long as we're playing this game that is beholden to the shareholders and nobody else, what motivation do we have to do the right thing?
And that's what I was going to say about what you said, Jhamar. Like, I don't disagree with you, but with the when we how we go about our normal lives and get on Threads and Amazon, it's like, I think some of that's coping mechanisms.
Totally.
You feel like you can't do anything. Like, you do try, because there's people who will never try because they feel like they can't make a difference. And I'm not shitting on them at all, but like, there's people who do, and then you still feel like it's like, oh my God, it's exhausting, and then nothing happens. So it's like, I'll just go back to pretending that I'm blissfully unaware, because sometimes it's just easier to like, I got to get through the day. I got to go to my job. I got to take care of my kids. Like, I need to, and it all trickles down. Like, all of it's affecting us, but it's so hard to like take that big step, and like, you really got to put a lot into it. And sometimes it's just a lot.
No, Leigh, I understand. Trust me, I understand. That's what I thought was intense, because I'm sure that's what the white people said. Well, not Henry David Thoreau and them,
right?
Some
of them.
Some of that is the mentality. That is the mentality.
Like, that was the same mentality that like, it's just hard. So let me just.
I can't solve all the issues of the casino. Yeah, it is. We all are complicit to a certain degree. Like, we all, and Leigh, like what you said is 100% valid. Like, you do got to go and hit up the buffet because you can't stand to play. You're not going to be at the billionaire's table. So you got to eat. Your family's got to eat. These are all valid things. But at the same time, we all are, complicit in our privilege.
It's hard.
In our American privilege.
To choose sometimes, and we get put in like, all the 99%, the non 1% are all the people that have to make these hard decisions, and they just keep making money.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting chat. Always love chatting with you two. We have to wrap up the show now.
Yes. Like, how do we do a would you rather after like?
I know, right? I know.
Disgusting, but hey. Yeah,
I know you got one for us, Jesse.
Yeah,
we can go quick on this one, and I think it'll be a pretty quick discussion. The would you rather for this week is: would you rather be a famous artist or a famous athlete?
Oh, I go first. I would rather be a famous artist, and I say that because
is there any kind of artist, real quick?
Yeah, I guess
a new artist. I'll be a new artist. You feel me?
Music, painting, film.
Oh yeah. That.
His old artist, like Jhamar can be an artist, but he's only like 90 years old.
Well, actually, I said something way more intense than that. I said NUDE. I just
nude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anywho, but I picked.
Makes more sense.
That's the way out of the casino is the nude art just takes off.
I picked.
Does that mean you do art in the nude or you draw nude people?
Leigh, listen, Leigh. Nah, never mind. No,
you gotta go for it, bro. Now you're in the now. Ply your medium, please. Ply your trade.
I was going to say follow my email model. Follow my email newsletter, and I'll invite everyone. Well, all the women to my first exhibit.
Okay, this is smart. This is good cliffhanger. This is good content making. We got a cliffhanger here. Is he a nude artist for his physique, or does he draw? And
exactly. You know what I mean?
Tune in next week on unThreaded where we have the follow up to this.
We find out.
But nonetheless, he has done his duty.
A very special unThreaded.
Yeah, unThreaded.
Yeah, he was giving me shit about the shirtless episode. At least like then he comes back, he just wanted. He was mad because it was half nudity. He wanted the full Monty.
But I choose artists for the obvious reason that, athletes' time span of like being in their prime and producing their best work is like 13 years. Like now you have people pushing it to 15 years because of like the latest technology to keep your body like intact. So I feel like you could be an artist forever, man. You could be a new artist your whole entire life. Even when your skin is wrinkly and your balls just falling, you can still be a new artist, man. What
about you, Leigh?
Yeah, what about you, Leigh?
For sure, artist. My reasons would be that being an athlete, the physical tear and wear and tear on your body, you never get to see any of your family because you travel so damn much, and your schedule is especially depending on the sport, like it's so dictated by. Like your life is dictated by your sport. Like you get traded, you're moving. Like apparently you can wake up in the middle of the night to a text that says you're moving to Boston if your name is Drew Holiday. But but like that's terrible. Artists, I also think you could be a very renowned artist and people not have any fucking clue what you look like. And so you could be out in public, you can enjoy your life, you can do it for a year, you can take off a year, you can go back. Like there's just so much more freedom. And you can probably live a pretty normal life. And I think that's the complete opposite of being an athlete. So, for sure, artist.
Now, it's a lot of athletes out there that just, they got money and nobody know them if they go outside because they are trash.
Well, this does presuppose fame. This says famous artist or famous.
Oh, true.
So you do have to have some, you can't just be like, I don't know, the eighth or ninth man on the bench. Yeah, you gotta you have to have some.
Don't know. Well, in Picasso, it's like a lot of people don't know what artists look like.
That's true.
So I was gonna agree with, but because both of y'all's points, that's where my mind went first. Again, like longevity and like just like control over certain factors. I have been reconsidering, and I do think, not to just be the contrarian, I think that the athlete might actually be the right answer because, and let me justify this, I think of like the most thrilling thing that can happen for an artist. Okay. So if I guess like the thing that comes to mind is like, if you're a musician and you perform to adoring fans, you get this validation in the moment. There is this kind of euphoric feeling, I'm sure, to like playing the biggest stadium or whatever. But here's my counter. If you are like the biggest rock star in the world, once you've conquered, I don't know, Wembley Stadium or whatever, every stadium after that is just going to be a diminished version of the same feeling. If you are an athlete, though, if you win the Super Bowl or if you win the World Series, you win the NBA Finals, I think that's got to probably be the best feeling.
But what if you never win?
Well, I'm saying I take you might never play Wembley if you're a famous rock star. You may never get to the pinnacle of your like pursuit either way. But I do think there's something to like, if you got to be a famous athlete who was one of the best in the sport, winning a championship, I think has got to be like
Jesse,
unmatched feeling of elation.
Unmatched, like, Jesse. Do you understand Basquiat? Do you understand Basquiat sold a paying for $10,000, then went back home, and then he did heroin, and he was
that's my whole point, though.
That was a good feeling for him, Jesse.
My whole point is artists at the height of their success are still like psychologically depressed. And like, I'm not saying that doesn't happen for athletes.
What about the heroin, bro? I'm talking about the heroin.
Oh, I think I've gone on record, if I haven't, this is my first official announcement, that my heroin era is going to be when I'm 90. I'm going to get into heroin when I'm in the nursing home, because it's a perfect plan, because I'll have done all the things that are responsible. I've raised my son. Nobody would be like, oh my God, that's so sad that 90-year-old succumbed to a heroin addiction. They'll be like, what the fuck is wrong with them? In fact, the pills I'm taking probably won't even chemically be that different in the first place. So I'm going to make some really banger mixtapes for my fellow people at the, whatever nursing home I'm in, because I'm going to have my late stage artist heroin era in my final few years as a human being. And I'll be just ripping the trumpet. I'll be playing incredible trumpet licks, and like people will just be like, "Holy shit, that guy's a fucking genius." So, anyway, my point is, I think that if you got a chance to win a championship as an athlete, as like a pivotal athlete, that's got to be one of the best feelings ever. And even then, you come back and like do it again, I bet it matches it. I bet you like the Chiefs and all them, they're not tired of winning Super Bowls, but I bet you rock stars playing like the third, fourth like stadium in a tour, like the variance is higher. I think if you get a chance to win a championship, yeah, you might only get like a 10-15 year window of athleticism, but like I bet if you get to the mountaintop, that probably is one of the best feelings in all of humanity.
Jesse, I understand that, and I know we got to close the show because Leigh have an impression for us.
Yeah.
Basquiat was a homeless man with a dream of just being an artist, bro, and then he blew up. So I can't even imagine the feeling of like manifesting that into your whole life. I don't think an NBA championship.
Did he die rich though?
Yeah, he died rich. He died wealthy because he was friends with Andy Warhol.
Yeah. Okay, so he had recognition, but nonetheless,
he had recognition. He was buying his friends drugs.
Money.
He had money. He was rich. He went from being a homeless man to a really rich man, all in Soho. And you living in New York City, bro. He probably was living it up, bro.
It's a good counter. I'm just, again, you flame out so quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, because he didn't even get to enjoy the longevity that you said. Like, he didn't get, like you say, an athlete's window is short. Like, how many years did he get to create because he succumbed to, like, an addiction, you know?
Fair. But, you know, that heroin mixed with that selling that pain for $10,000, bro, I think I'd rather take that than the NBA championship. But anywho, it's okay.
It's funny because there's that joke out there that's like all athletes want to be rappers and rappers want to be athletes, you know? And I think there's like a lot of truth to that. Like there's like whatever you ended up becoming, you probably covet the other one anyway. That's just human nature, I guess.
I take that back. I don't support heroin, man. Yeah, that was a bit.
Forgot you were running for office.
Yeah, that was a bit. I lost myself.
He's pro-nudist, but
yeah,
anti-heroin.
Yeah, I forgot. Yo, Bone, we got to cut that. Anywho.
Bone said he was worth $10 million when he died, so.
Okay, so yeah, he made it, but okay, yeah, Leigh, bring us out. This is a wild
episode. Impression only because they're making me do it.
It's gonna be good. I just have the feeling.
I've never actually looked in them to see myself do this. Is gonna be interesting, and it's a very short because I had to think of something that I just knew in my head. Because most of my impressions are of other people. So maybe I'll do each of you soon. I think I still need to learn your nuances a little bit.
Jhamar did me earlier today, so.
No, I never practiced it though. I was being silly. Yo.
And you did tie. You did tie in a previous episode. I thought that was actually very uncanny. It was pretty damn good.
But I'm gonna tell you what I'm doing this time, I think you probably would have gotten it if you know the skit. But I would say I'm not celebrity impressions, but SNL is a big part of my life.
Mary Catherine Gallagher?
No. I'm going to be doing Will Ferrell as Harry Carey talking to Norm Macdonald.
Can't wait.
Okay, here we go. Hey, Norm. If you were a hot dog, would you eat yourself? I know I would.
That was great.
Jesse, rate that, Jesse.
I gave it a 5 out of 5. I'd wash it down with a cold, cool Budweiser.
I know, I couldn't. I was looking for the transcript. I didn't want the video because I'm like, I couldn't remember the next line. But like, I know I would.
I know I would. Yeah, so funny. Okay, but you gotta close out the show. So
right.
So
I don't know close out the show. I gotta think. I gotta think about what I gotta say. Okay. Sorry. This is why I can't do impressions. I just start laughing.
That's great.
Hey, everybody. Shit, I can't fucking do it.
Y'all have to send me who this person is.
Oh, it's Harry Carey. You don't know who Harry Carey is?
I don't know Harry Carey. I'm sorry.
He's a long-time announcer of the Cubs, right?
I think it was the Dodgers. I'm not sure. Maybe Vin Scully was the Dodgers.
Like he's saying,
right.
the ball game. He's a
okay.
character. He has big square glasses.
Okay.
So Will Ferrell does him. It's like, this is old. It's like we get an update from like, but I'll send you the video. But like, he just has the most absurd things. like but anyway, okay, I gotta take us out. Okay, I'm gonna try.
Let's go. You got this.
He was an announcer for the Cardinals. Not that that'll make your impression any better.
Right? And then he's famous for like being the Cubs announcer.
Okay.
Yes. For like, John says like 50 years, so.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
That's what his
the A's, the White Sox, the Cubs, and then he must have closed out with the Cardinals. Anyway.
Okay.
Take us out.
Okay. Hey, everybody. We want to thank you for coming to our podcast and go get yourself a hot dog.
See you next week.
Peace.